14th. This is the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. We're here at 200 College Street. We appreciate everyone who's also joining us virtually. My name is George Redmond. Only getting recorded now. Do I have to redo it? Am I checked now? Okay. Again, my name is George Redmond, the chair of the JCPC. We're here for board meeting. Before we go into reviewing the actions of the minutes of the last one, if we can just kind of do a roll call. Let's start with the people we have here at 200 College Street, and then we will go online. We'll start off.
Let's track community member.
Chairman Director, Family Preservation Services. Scott Dennis from Public Defender's Office.
I'm Ty from Pivot Point.
Ichi Garner via Health.
Lorraine Williams, area consultant with BJJ.
George Redmond, Buncombe County Sheriff's Office.
April Redmond, community member.
Sergeant Craig Loveland, National Police Department.
Andy Bobowski, community member.
Anta Whitney, community.
Hannah Ledgerton, Youth Justice Division Manager with Buncombe County.
Karen Pearson, Buncombe Alternatives Teen Court and Earn and Learn.
JV Willix, Buncombe County Teen Court.
Thank you all for being here. We have online. I believe I can start off with the Commissioner, Martin Moore. You here?
Present. Good morning.
What else do we have on there? Is it Ms. Kokima King? I see her name as well.
Good morning, everyone. Kokima King, community member.
Looks like we also got Court Counselor Lance. Is that correct?
Yes, this is Mr. Lance, Juvenile Court Counselor.
Lindsay Holland. Who else do we have? Ms. Ross?
Good morning.
Yes.
Kadaya Ross.
Yes, I'm here, Buncombe County HHS.
And
So
Mary-
Robin,
Yeah, Robin Fraser.
Robin Frazier.
Hi, this is Robin. I'm with Aspire Youth and Family.
And is that it?
And Mary
It's
Drinkwater.
Mary Drinkwater with Juvenile Justice.
Thank you, Mary. All right, so glad everyone's here. Day after Valentine's Day, we're showing a lot of love to the community after getting monitoring reports, which will lead ultimately to allocations and all that sort of fun stuff. But our first item on the agenda is to review the actions from December 21st minutes. You have been issued those minutes out by Hannah. Thank you, Hannah. At this point, we will need someone to, if you have reviewed them, to make a motion, or if there's some sort of edits or provisions you want to do at this point, we can do that now. Is there a motion on the table for a review of an action on December 21st, 23 minutes?
And I do have to apologize. I realized that the attendance sheet wasn't added to either the December 21st or the February 1st meeting minutes, so I can send those out, and if the rest of the minutes are good, I'll send them out, but please let me know if there's any edits to make from there.
So I'll move to accept the minutes.
I second.
All right. Any objections? Please either raise a hand on the virtual session, or if we have anyone in person, please raise your hand if you have any objections to the minutes. Hannah did say that she will update those minutes with the actual attendance list later on.
And I realized we also sent out the February 1st minutes as well.
From the red data as well. So let's just do a motion on this first one first. Everyone say aye if you approve of the minutes from December 21st, 2023.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Looks like it's unanimously approved. We go into the February 1st minutes, which is from the red data that was presented. Again, we wish that she was present. We had some technical difficulties, but we were able to get the data. So if you were present at that point, if you've seen the minutes that Hannah has passed out, If you have any objections or any revisions, edits as to those minutes, please speak now. If not, we would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay. So we got, we'll put Martin second. All right. Everyone, if you approve, please say yes.
Yes.
If there are any no's, please say nay. All right, so we've approved the December 21st, 23 minutes, as well as the February 1st, 2023 minutes of the red data. So it looks like now we get to go into the fun part, which is the program updates. So this is where the programs kind of give us a program enhancement plan as well as the effectiveness report. So what we'll do is we'll have each program come up and simultaneously just kind of give us their PEP as well as their program effectiveness report. I know we have several that are here, so it's up to whoever feels most comfortable. Go ahead and start. I'm not going to just run down the list that we have.
We have 2 programs, we'll go. Welcome alternatives.
2 programs. There we go.
You said come up, can we sit?
Come on up.
Can we sit? I have a
Oh,
lot of
sit.
papers.
Okay, that'll work as well.
Okay, thank you.
Everyone turn this way though, just to make sure.
Can you see me?
Yes.
All right, so the first one we'll go through is Earn and Learn. And we had some trouble with the program effectiveness form. That's why I have papers here, but it would only let us put in the narrative. So I have some specific things from the program effectiveness form that we'll hand out at a later date. I think Hannah's gonna send that out. For Earn and Learn, our community service restitution program, is that up on the board or?
I can pull it.
Okay. One of the things for our enhancement opportunity for the program evaluation is data on clients to be served pre and post programming to collect and provide those evaluations, those results from that evaluation. And our action steps were to secure funding to purchase the online program through the change companies. And when we get to Teen Court, I'll let Jamie elaborate a little bit on that because that was very successful. Action step was for all staff to receive the training for the online data program. And the training involves from the point of intake to the point of termination. So we can get those outcomes for that. And the responsible party is the executive director and program staff. On the comment side, that is completed. The funds were secured, purchase was made, and we have all been trained. So that's exciting on that. Jamie, do you have anything you want to add?
About the journaling program? The evidence-based journaling program that we're using from the change companies has been really interesting to be able to track the way a client feels about the program at their intake, and then we have another assessment that we do at the end of the program that asks how they feel about their time in the program, and being able to gather and track and log that data and see what has changed in that client as to the way they perceive what they're involved in has been really helpful.
And utilizing that tool with the YASI and our outcomes, it's going to give us a more defined snapshot of why the youth is in the Earn and Learn program and the Teen Court program. So we're excited about that. In our quality of service data and delivery, the program policies and procedures, we're going to create and are creating a more specific set of policy and procedures for tracking our site supervisor hours. For Earn and Learn, this would be where our youth go and assist our staff, like Shiloh Community Center, et cetera. So we are now streamlining and having folks create sign-in sheets and sign off on their hours that way. Also, our staff in our action step have created a PowerPoint training to educate our community partners. An example is the Manna Food Bank. The supervisors there will undergo their annual training, and we're the effectiveness would be that in their site reviews, their training would be happening at that same time. So that is still in progress, but it is completed. And we do those twice a year. So we did it in January and we'll be doing it again as we wrap up this fiscal year. And on the backside, the structured training and program documentation. One of our focal points is to reevaluate and create a more consistent volunteer and in-kind tracking system. To reevaluate the current staff and volunteer tracking system for training. These were identified in our 3-year monitoring that we just went through. And some of the things that we focused on were creating a more fluid and in-kind tracking system to track site supervisors and volunteer hours. So to be more precise, we have found as a staff, as tracking that we're going above and beyond with our bailiffs and our volunteers. So just to get a clearer snapshot of the hours that are put in from community stakeholders. And that's everyone on staff, including interns and the board. That is in progress and ongoing. I think right now we are, especially at the teen court and the earn and learn level, when we go in identifying that this is happening now, we're getting a lot of good feedback from that. So when the bailiffs sign, it allows us to communicate face-to-face or our site supervisors as well. So that's been very beneficial. So that's earn and learn. And with the program effectiveness report on earn and learn, one of the neatest things is tracking, and with earn and learn, I apologize, we went to current date, not through the end of this December, where earn and learn it looks a little higher because we did go through date. So this is from July to the 13th. But for earn and learn, one of the neatest things was when we were entering the information is to clarify that, and I think I can't remember who was asking this specific for earn and learn, but the breakdown of the racial ethnic. For earn and learn, we had 10 Black American, African American, we had 3 Hispanic and 19 white, and 1 unknown. And so that gave us the total of admitted in earn and learn to 30. So seeing that breakdown on this snapshot report was awesome in comparison to where we were and what we pull out from NC Allies. One of the things that Juan wanted to share, this is why we had some, is, and quickly wrapping up, one of the highlights here, this part of the form, the notes on the back was phenomenal. This was the only thing that would print for us, but we're gonna fix that challenge. One of the things that we thought was really great was the evidence of a client progress. And so Juan wanted to share that we had a client with a high number of risk factors, name not mentioned. Well, he was terminated successful within the target time frame on 1/4/2024. By the end of his time in earn and learn, the rapport was so well established with this client, he expressed a desire to do more community service and is now a volunteer with the teen court program. And that's from earn and learn. So for us, that's such a win-win to come through the program and then to turn around and want to be a volunteer. And I think the joke was made, maybe I have to get in trouble again to stay in this program, because it happened to be a day where he was participating in lunch at one of our programs. So that was a success for earn and learn. And so this tool is really good, not just for you guys to see, but for us to review and feel good and remember the positive sides of that program. So
good.
That's for earn and learn.
Any questions? Knowing what Earn and Learn does regarding restitution of kids, I know some of the goal that we have in JCPC is to try to get referrals outside of DJJ, but obviously this program is really DJJ driven because it deals with restitution. So it's attached to a petition or whatever damage or whatever's been caused. Does the time frame on a kid's successful completion depend on the amount of money? So for example, some kid owes $5,000, some kid owes $1,000. Does that shorten the program based on that individual amount for that kid?
Does it shorten the program? No, it would make it longer, but we wouldn't have restitution at that amount. So depending on, and I might not be understanding that question.
Yeah, I mean, any amounts, right? I mean, I guess once they complete the amount that's needed for the courts, is there still an additional part, or is that kind of the simultaneous when it's ended for that individual?
For restitution, you are correct. It would end when the restitution is paid back. So if it was a property crime or a restitution crime, yes, it would end.
Any other questions, thoughts? We definitely appreciate what Earn and Learn does. Being an individual who had to do community service when I was a teenager at Lake Julian and other places, it humbles you. And so it's better than the parent having to fork over the money for a child's mistake. So it allows them to understand ramifications for what they've done. All right, teen court.
All right, so for Buncombe County Teen Court, a lot of our program enhancement as far as quality of service would be similar. Some of the things, and Jamie, jump in at any time if you'd like, securing the funding for the program evaluation. Again, we utilize that program. The change companies are journaling evidence-based program. So you'll see that part of our QoS is going to be the same in this program. But moving down, one of the highlights of the policies and procedures is creating our school justice partnership. And in this county, in both programs, it does stand out. And so with the teen court program and having the opportunity to have school-based and or direct referrals, that has been a big mover and shaker in this county. So creating and implementing a set of policies and procedures around that has been one of our focal points, and tracking the staff hours and the recidivism rates. And I think someone mentioned last time, could you inform us on those recidivism rates? So one of the things we're doing and finding out as we wrap up still from this past year is what youth have been referred to us that had needed a higher level of care, or there was a lack of communication. And out of about 72 referrals, we had 48 as we started to wrap up and work with Lorraine and give feedback on how we're supposed to track that. Because out of 48 times about, we said 2 hours, our staff have been working on contacting the parents, the paperwork, etc. But we just saw this stack and we kept moving the stack around the office. Where is this stack going to go? And to us, that was equating to, we've got to track and see out of this. Did one of these youth get referred to the court system, or are they going to come back through the teen court direct referral? So that's been interesting to track, and we will give you an update on that as we move forward. We do have a place in NC Allies now where we can make notes to track that as well. So those action steps are in place and in progress to ensure Asheville City Schools and Buncombe County Schools are trained and understand the direct referral and school-based teen court options. And that is complete. To date, we have our MOUs with Buncombe County Schools and Asheville City Schools signed, and create the flow chart that will explain precisely how that works and differentiate between direct referral, SR referral, and or school-based teen court. So those are all complete as well, and will be ongoing, because this is just going to be a process as we ebb and flow through all of that as we move into a high truancy season. So we'll keep everybody informed of that as well. Jamie, do you have anything on that?
Yes, so we do have a memorandum of understanding with Buncombe County Schools so that they can send direct referrals to the teen court program. We have a memorandum of understanding with Asheville City Schools so that they can send direct referrals to the teen court program. And then at the lower level, which is school-based teen court, that is running effectively at Inca Intermediate School for the first time this year. That's the youngest school we've ever worked with so far. And from my personal and professional perspective, it has been precious to work with the 5th and 6th graders. It's a little bit different and I've really enjoyed it personally. We also have the school-based teen court program, which is an alternative to out-of-school suspension happening at Inca Middle School. So those are the two schools that we have the school-based programming that's an alternative to the out-of-school suspension, and then MOUs for direct referrals, which can be used as an alternative for out-of-school suspension, but also an alternative to filing charges through juvenile justice. So when it comes to getting referrals that are not from DJJ, I would like to state that we have that covered at this moment.
Okay, and so for the structured training and program documentation on the last item on our PEP, it is to reevaluate and create an organizational chart. And we do this periodically, especially if we have someone retire, which has only been once, and or if we are trying to have a more consistent training so that our school-based volunteers have one person that they communicate with and are trained by. So that's the admin and or whomever they're working with. And so we have created a new organizational chart so that is all going through Ms. Willix. So that is complete. And everything else on here is the same as Earn and Learn and in progress and ongoing and or completed. One of the snapshots that we have from our program effectiveness report on Teen Court that's really interesting is that we have 23 male and 19 female, and that is the served total to date. So that's really exciting. We're over 50% of our goal, and we still have this is our busy season, so for the next 5 months, we will be probably adding some Monday nights to our Teen Court. And I think that is probably our time, unless anyone wants to hear a success from Teen Court's program effectiveness report.
Let's hear it.
All right. All right, so we have one standout. And Jamie, you can chime in if you'd like, but do you want to read the, okay, I'll let Jamie share the top one.
This month has seen positive developments for Buncombe County Teen Court and direct referrals. Notably, we've observed excellent jury duty attendance among our current clients and a high response rate for weekly check-ins. Additionally, a former client who successfully completed the Teen Court program is now actively serving as a volunteer juror. Furthermore, we've transitioned from pre-post surveys to cognitive behavioral therapy survey data, which is now being gathered at intake and termination, and the results are in process of compilation. The specific juror that is being referred to that is a volunteer now is not just a volunteer juror, but often asks if she can be the lead peer juror and is actively engaged in furthering herself as a human. And I'm just really proud of this student. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
That's probably one of the neatest things is watching the youth who come through this program. Because our goal is for them to realize what they're all learning and to become a more active citizen in our community. And so that's been a really neat thing to watch and hear from the staff is, you're never going to believe this, so-and-so from Earn and Learn is now in the Teen Court program or vice versa. So that's our goal and it is working.
Did you mention the demographics of the Teen Court? Is it the same as Earn and Learn?
As far as the age?
No, as far as the race.
Oh, I can provide that, yes. I did not. Let's see. So yes, now this one, Teen Court's based upon the December, that's when our monitoring was and when we turned in, but I can give you both. So on number 5, we had 3 Hispanic Latino, and on number 6, we had 5 African American, and 4 multiracial, and 7 white. And current to date, did you want that to date, or you just give it to you later, or?
You give it to me now if you want.
Okay, so for Teen Court current, we have 1 Asian, 16 Black African American, 4 Hispanic Latino, 1 Pacific Islander, and 2 or more, 20 white, and 2 unknown. So these categories don't exactly match in the program effectiveness, but this is what we pull out of NC Allies and Yazzie, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me first start online in case I missed that, because I see something in the chat. And so I want to see if there's any comments or questions, anything from the people online.
Just so you know, the chat is just showing Kakima's good morning messages and so that she had to step away for a moment. But if anyone has any questions that they have not put in the chat.
How about if you do have a question, put it in the chat so that they're not just speaking over themselves, and that way we can just check it after each time. Anyone in the room, anything? All right. Thank you. Next, could be, well, we just had two that had one. Pivot point. How about that?
Okay. Our program enhancement plan is brand new, and I apologize in advance for the last column that didn't get completed. I will add that because it's all in process and ongoing. But our main point of focus at this point is how to, to increase our outreach for our referrals, because all of our kids are direct referrals right now from JCPC. And one of the ways that we are trying to take some action steps to increase that is to get in front of the court counselors a little bit more regularly. It's our understanding that they've had a lot of turnover. And so the couple of the court counselors that we work with that are still there are the ones that are sending us those referrals. We also have started a partnership with Buncombe County Schools we started a leadership prevention program to try to capture those adolescents prior to getting into adjudication or in trouble with the court. In fact, have a meeting Monday with the superintendent of schools because it has gone well, and they actually are trying to get us into the middle school. So maybe capturing those kids even earlier. So that's kind of where our main focus is in terms of increasing the referral base. The other thing that unfortunately we will never kind of reach that optimal 12 to 16 week mark because our program is based on 10 weeks. It was 12, but with working in collaboration with the court counselors found that the kids were like, can we shorten this, condense this? However, we exceed kind of triple the requirements because each one of our sessions on a Saturday is between 4 to 6 hours. And we take these kids climbing, hiking, paddleboarding, rafting, and biking. So that's kind of, so we're just trying to figure out like how to can we create a program maybe after school, but then we're shortening our hours in that regard, but open to also creating a female group. Right now, our referrals have been all male identified. So open to running simultaneous groups if they get female identified. Like our leadership, I will say, is a gender fluid group, but we feel like, at least with the kids that are adjudicated, we're going to keep that male identified, female identified, keep them and I guess the risk level also is kind of that category is out of our control. I will say that we have worked kind of diligently picking up collateral information because we have what we call intake limitations, but we also recognize that kids do not, on 2D, they're very different. So we're working with court counselors, their school counselors, the parent, looking at having the interviews. So sometimes even if it looks right on paper that might not be one of our kids, we're kind of meeting with them to see whether or not, what is really behind the story. So I really am glad that we kind of do that because we've actually accepted kids that on paper might not look like our kid. In terms of numbers, so all of that is in process and ongoing, which I did not add to the column, so I will. I think we have admitted 12, admitted 9 and served 12, all male, all between the 14 to 17, because right now that is our age bracket, but are looking to probably start a little younger. Talked about the female. Our breakdown is 12 white, 2 Hispanic. We actually have 2 new kids starting this Saturday one black, one white. And then we have one in the onboarding process now. I would like to share a success story. This is Mary's online. This is one of Mary's kids who, on probation, really resisted, just missed week after week after week. Finally, we kind of set a boundary. If you come the next 5 consecutive Saturdays, we'll have you as a successful grad. He did, and he actually has asked to continue with the program. And that has not been the first time that that's happened. So exposure. I think, George, you and I in our group talked about this, like these kids are growing up in Asheville, they got all the mountains around them and they're not getting out in the woods at all. So exposure is a big thing. Yeah, that's kind of pivot point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions here in person? Anything online?
I actually have a question.
Sure.
How would the direct referral work?
We have a universal referral form. Thank you, because I was about to say that, because that's actually how we worked with us collaborating with Buncombe County now, is that we've given all the court counselors, excuse me, that's who I work with, the counselors at the school, a universal form. So it can't be a parent, a direct referral that way, but a teacher can do it, a school counselor can do it. I would say, I don't know what community member, I'd have to staff that with my team. But there is a universal referral form that I can give out to your department, to anybody who needs that. And that's what we've given to the schools. And then we make contact with the family and set up a meeting with the child as well as the family or the guardian.
So SROs can be included in that, right?
And we're going to talk about that too here in a little bit, about presentation and referrals.
I will add too, we add transportation. So I know transportation for Buncombe County sometimes can be difficult. So we have a meeting place at usually Carrier Park, but if a guardian cannot pick that child up, if they're in Buncombe County, we will go and pick them up and take them home. So that's a big thing that I think that we offer. That's important to mention.
All right, I don't see anything in the chat, or the number increased from 3, is that right? Am I saying it right? Okay. I have glasses, so I just wanted to confirm. I may need them, I was just checking. All right, so we've heard from Earn Learn, Teen Court, Pivot Point. Next we can go to, it looks like Buncombe County Youth Justice Clinical Program. I think they have 2 as well. Ava, are you here to present, or is Tiffany online? Or?
Okay. So we have the comprehensive clinical assessments that we do. Our primary referral source has been court counselors, but we are looking to expand that to schools to access more and help more youth that are at risk. We also have group counseling and individual counseling services. So the program is very new, so we do not have an enhancement plan, but we do have the effectiveness numbers here. Like I mentioned, we're looking to increase referrals. We're interested in collaborating with the schools, planning ways to better access collateral input on assessments as well. Sometimes that can be tricky. That's all the information I have because we're so new, and I do apologize. Any questions? Any questions about
Knowing I kind of monitored over there, the sort of changes that are happening, obviously, was that the CCAs that we were contracting out, now you can do them in-house, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. This sort of group counseling is sort of substance abuse?
Yes, there's a substance use focus. And our groups are CBT or DBT, evidence-based, very structured programs.
Yes, Lori.
If I may just add something, just for context, because the Buncombe County Youth Justice Clinical Program is a new program, if y'all recall from October, they didn't have a step score because you have to have a whole year of data to be able to pull from NCLI, so that's why they don't have the PEP, since they haven't yet had their first PEP score, so they will have one next year.
Shannon on here, Martin, I don't think I saw her in schools.
She was gonna try to join, but she was able to get out of a conflicting meeting at a certain time, so I have not seen her join yet.
Okay, that's all right. So question, Ava, with the group, and I don't work for the schools, so we could talk with Shannon, but would you be agreeable to maybe doing a group at a certain school if there was a higher need there, going
Yes,
there?
we're really looking to do that. We really want to partner with the schools.
Yeah.
And we've had parents actually comment just yesterday, wow, it'd be great if you could be at the school because my child is so involved in other activities there, and it's just convenience when you think about transportation.
So I know that we've initiated communication around developing MOUs with the schools.
That was my next question. Great. So
Wonderful
we'll
boy.
get with Shannon and talk. I think this would really be a great opportunity.
Any other comments, questions? All right. Thank you, Ava. All right, next we can go to see Aspire. They also have two as well.
Thanks. This is Robin from Aspire. I will start with our Kids at Work program. This fiscal year, we agreed to serve 36. We have served 27 of those. We have a current population now of 8. We had 2 new admissions in the month of January. We have gotten good reports from both school and parents. One, there was a confrontation at school and 2 of the youth that are in the class happened to have been present. And instead of jumping in, which is what they probably would have done in the past, they were able to help de-escalate the situation, which is always what we look for. You know, it's one thing to do well in a class with staff, but it's another thing to be able to carry those skills out into the community. So we were really happy about that. We have the 2 that were referred this month were white, but year to date, we've had 3 African-American Black, 4 white. And we have also had 1 Hispanic, 6 non-Hispanic. For our SPEP, for Kids at Work, our overall SPEP score was a 51. Our POP score was 60. And what we did was, under quality of service, we concentrated on really 3 things. One was staff retention. So we went ahead and revised our job descriptions and spoke with a consultant and got some new hiring strategies in place, which has proven successful. Enhanced supervision by district leads. So each district leader is now responsible for a designated staff, and they are to speak with them twice monthly. And we have regular staff meetings on Tuesdays. I think the biggest thing that we did was with our software program. We were having some issues with it, so we had them revise that such that if a staff person doesn't do a note when it's due or a monthly update, that person who is their supervisor gets automatically notified. So we can make sure that these are not only going out timely, but now going out to who they are supposed to go out to. So, you know, that's helped with reporting and everything that goes along with that. And then for the more difficult of the 2, our connection program, which is our music program, we agreed to serve, I believe it was 15. So far, we've served 10. Out of the 15, 7 of those are new admits. One of the things that I wanted to bring up and notify the JCPC panel with is we have been having difficulty. As you know, that is a program where we, contract out. So Creative U is the entity that provides the musical instructor. they have been having some difficulty quite a bit with staffing. So we have run into a situation where there will be consecutive weeks with no staff showing up, or a staff person showing up once or twice and then not coming back, which is really difficult for the youth in there, because they do bond, they do get used to that. And so we've been struggling because that comes down on us. So what we would like to do and what we are doing is we are contracting with a different entity to try and fulfill that obligation we have for the music program. We are hopeful by early next week we will have that ironed out. So I just wanted to let the JCPC panel know of that, and we will certainly let you know if and when that is finalized. And as far as the SPEP, we only had an advisory score for the connection, but it would really be the same as it was for Kids at Work. And that's all
Thank
I've
you,
got.
Robin.
You're welcome.
Obviously, if you're on virtually, please send something. If you have a question or a comment on the chat, it'll let us know that at that point we can entertain that question. Anyone present here at 200 College Street with any questions or any comments, anything? Yes, Lorraine.
Once Aspire completes their shift to a new contractor, they will do a budget revision and send that through NC Allies to make that change. It's not necessary, it might not affect their budget specifically, but program agreement changes also get, or another use of a revision. So just to let you all know, you'll get a copy of that when that happens.
Thank you, Lorraine. Robin, we hope that you obviously fix those problems with Creative View and with whoever else, hopefully be able to provide that service. I know music is important and a good avenue for kids at that point to express themselves in a sort of positive way. So we hope that you are able to secure that contracting for them.
Thank you.
All right. I believe the last one we have is Buncombe Structure Day. Mr. Davis, is that right? Is he online?
Yes.
Morning, Mr. Davis.
Good morning. Good morning.
Mr. Davis, we got a little echo in there. I see you twice on the virtual. So I don't know if you have either your phone and your computer up. You can probably.
Okay, how's that? That sounds better.
Now
Hello?
talk, Mr. Davis? Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Okay. It's been a hard morning with these computers. I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, we've had five this year. The last one went to a group home in Charlotte. So, and we only get, we get some from the school and some from JCPC, but at the moment, we don't have any except a little girl, and I think she ran off and went to South Carolina.
So, Mr. Davis,
yes.
You get some referrals from the schools and from DJJ?
Yes, sir. And one from DJJ. And we have 5 that came in from DJJ. And the last one was, I guess, went to a group home in Charlotte Monday. And they brought us the young ladies from the high school, but she hadn't came yet. And the parents called us, I guess, Monday and said that she ran off and went to South Carolina, so it's a kind of year.
But we can take no kids together.
And getting more, I don't know, going out into the community to try to get children is, it's kind of, I don't know, difficult, because what we basically do is the structure day is helping with the work. If they're suspended from school, to give them a place to be, and like I say, help them stay on task so they graduate with their peers. But unless DJJ or the school send us some, then we don't have any children. And over the alternative school, we try to work with them, but then I don't know, they're having a hard time with the children they got. So. Question.
Mr. Davis, the breakdown of the individuals that you are looks like the 5 that you've kind of served. What's the sort of ethnic or racial background to this?
Yes, sir. Well, they was all African American.
One is mixed.
That was one.
Like Caucasian, mixed in.
Well, it was 4 and 1, I guess, is mixed. And the young lady that's haven't got here yet, she's Black.
Now, Mr. Davis, so for Buncombe Structure Day, the thought is these kids that perhaps get a suspension from school, out of school suspension, it should be, instead of going home, the thought is to go to kind of Buncombe Structure Day where they get a structured learning environment and maybe some credit recovery. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Well, yes, because like I say, instead of staying home, getting in trouble, they can come here and do one-on-one, because we use computers. So that means how many of children we have or clients we have, we can do from 7th to 12th grade all at one time. So I'm sorry I'm not doing good. This is Miss Graves. Miss Graves.
It's okay.
You do this, yeah, but her sister had a stroke, so.
Mr. Davis, you've got a van as well, is that right? So you're able to go transport kids?
Yes, sir. We're able to go and pick them up. Don't mind doing it either.
Any questions, comments? Lorraine, you got something?
No, the only comment I would make is that for the 5 referrals that they had received this year that they've served, it looks like all of them came from tort services. Sure.
Which for me seems too late. Right, it seems like this is one that should funnel directly from the schools.
Yes.
I don't know what I mean.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
Probably need an MOU now.
They
It's
do.
probably different than just going to the counselors. And the counselors agree, they probably need assistance with MOUs with both city school districts so that there's a formal plan to utilize that.
Mr. Davis, we were just talking, I don't know if you were hearing us, but our thought process in here is that the majority of the referrals that you're getting right now is DJJ. We're wanting them to come, the majority should be coming from the schools. So we're thinking perhaps next steps, MOU with Asheville City, with Buncombe County. to make sure that we get those referrals as soon as that kid is
Okay,
suspended.
Ms. Grave, okay, she goes to the school on a regular basis. Okay, well, Ms. Grave goes to the school pretty often. And so if a child is suspended, there's no problem about them that same day. If we know about it, they can be into the program. So,
Mr. Davis, I think that both school systems have been updating their memorandum of understanding process this year. So I think Shannon Martin's not on the call right now, but she would be able to talk with you about the Buncombe County School MOU and make sure that you can get that up to date.
And then,
okay, well,
Ms. Robinson.
Kim Robinson with
Yeah,
Asheville City Schools.
Cities.
can
So
help.
maybe we can help and reach out to them and talk with them. Mr. Davis, we can reach out to the schools and talk about, an agreement for you to work with them, and then maybe work out a more structured process of referrals from the schools to your program. So I think we're more than happy to help work on that.
Can I ask who was the other name besides?
Okay, well, I would appreciate that. Ms. Robinson's been over here, and Ms. Graves had a conversation with her. I don't know.
I think there's also a component of the parent, right? I mean, the parent. So at this point, if I got a kid that's getting suspended OSS and they hand out, as soon as they're leaving, they hand out Buncombe Structure Day referral. Here, this is where you can go. Your kid, instead of you spending time taking off work, this program can get credit recovery and do everything as well. But I guess they also have to be on board, which could be a hurdle as well. It'd be interesting to see about that. We'll get to
okay. We were, with the city school, we have a memorandum of understanding with them already.
Hopefully we can revise that then to include the Buncombe County schools. I know that they've got options as well for those types of suspensions. So, but it'd be good to at least be able to have them refer y'all's program for people out in our community.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Have a good one.
You too. All right. Well, that concludes our program updates. I want to thank every program that's here personally, everyone that's virtually, for all that you do for the kids in this community. We appreciate the work. It was great to be able to hear from you as to the effectiveness as well as the PEP score as well. Understanding the racial breakdown of our community with these programs is also an important part for us to understand. So we're glad we're getting that data now. But where we're at right now on the agenda is moving to the monitoring committee presentation, which Brandon is not here at the moment. And so what I want to go ahead and start off with is obviously we've had some of the JCPC members with court counselors as well go to these programs and monitor them, sit down and chat with them. And so this is the time where our JCPC board members or court counselors can present as to the monitoring that they've done. Some of the things are the name of the program, the amount of youth they serve, which we've already had, some measurable objectives, anything that they want to report as to tracking, finances, vacancies, anything that they have from their meetings that they had. And then finally, if they recommend this for funding for next year. So we've had a lot of JCPC members. I do want to give a big shout out to Don Johnson. Don pulled his weight for sure. He came through, was able to monitor. We had a lot of, and it happens in life, sometimes sickness and whatever may have it, we have monitoring holes that we need to fill for presentations so that we can actually present on this day. And so Don stepped up and was able to secure some of those monitorings that we had that fell through. So super happy. I had several with him, so it was good to see those programs. So at this time, we've got the monitoring committee presentations. I can continue talking because I went to one, but defer to someone else at this point, whoever monitored and is willing to share about the program that they have. I can start with the left to my sister Angel. What program? You didn't monitor a program?
She was gonna. I was making it to that. I was in the hospital.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
That's right. I went for you. Oh, Fanta. Let's start with you.
You're gonna make me go first. All right, well, yes, George and I monitored the Buncombe County Youth Justice Clinical Program, which, as Ava already explained, has two components. They do comprehensive clinical assessments, which are quite extensive with both the parent and the youth. At the moment, the referrals are all from DJJ, and the purpose was to pick up overage of those comprehensive assessments. And then they make the referrals out from there. They intended to be an additional resource to DJJ by increasing capacity for those assessments and also having them done in a timely way. The youth and their parent can walk in if they're already in the building, so they can go and have the assessment there. The other component of the program is the group counseling, which includes substance abuse groups and individual counseling as well, trauma-informed DBT and cognitive behavioral therapy. And that currently is provided by a contracted vendor from the ASHES, and the weekly substance use groups are currently virtual via Zoom. I think other group counseling locations, they hope to have some of them in the schools. But that is still in process. In terms of the number of youth being served, it's a bit under because the staffing did not get completed until November. So the numbers are under expectations, but I would assume that they will grow to capacity in a timely way. And because it's also a new program that started during summer vacation and bumped into the holidays before it was fully staffed up. Have they met their measurable objectives? Yes, despite the numbers, seems like it's going to be a really viable program. And the only anything of significance was the staff vacancy, I think. And the hope that more, again, this seems like a theme, that more of the referrals will come from the schools and not just DJJ. So that's, I think, also in process. And that was a shared intention to build relationships with the schools. I think one of the things we talked about was that it's not, if the referral to either the group counseling or for the assessment comes from DJJ, it's pretty much mandated. If it comes from the schools, it's less so. And so
discretionary at that point.
Yeah, so that's an issue. And it sounded like they would like to supplement the online groups with more in-person groups to help mitigate no-shows and also improve peer accountability. It's different when you're in person, so. Is it recommended for funding? I would say absolutely, with the condition that they build up to capacity. Yeah. So
Perfect.
Square with what? Okay.
Yes, you did a wonderful job. And I did monitor with Banta. It was a pleasure to understand obviously what CCAs mean, and how that gets to the crux of the issues, as well as the group counseling. I know that Angela talked about getting into schools. We kind of mentioned about that as well. And then there was a thought of mine as well. I was like, well, them around other kids that are talking about substance abuse, I don't know. I can see the pros in it. I can also see the cons and having a wherewithal now of who all, and maybe they'd be timid to share amongst individuals that they see in the hallway. But I do think they need to go in the schools. I do think they have the classrooms and all that sort of stuff. I just kind of worry about that. If I was a kid and I was in there and I'm having to open up with other kids that may know me and see me on a daily basis, but I see the effectiveness of it as well.
You'd be surprised. Right, I mean, after Ava, again, the whole, and we know, telehealth isn't so, kids just don't work so well, right, with virtual. I mean, it's hard enough to keep their attention in a classroom in person. So goodness, telehealth is even worse. So I would say in person, and sure, George, that you would think that, but if you had someone skilled like Ava, who could guide the discussion, right? Because it could go off the rails quite quickly unless you had someone who was skilled clinically to be able to manage that. And I don't know Ava, but I'm sure she is.
Yeah.
She's licensed and able to work with youth. And working with youth versus adults, of course, is a different beast as well, right? So I think Ava definitely knows what she's getting into. And, I would imagine some of the youth that would be chosen, some would drop out, others would come in. But yeah, sure, George, that's a definite, could be a concern.
And can we get CCAs as a parent? I mean, it's gotta be from a school count, like I know that we want referrals from schools. Is that something that a school counselor is the only one, like an SRO can't request? I worry about if that's even a referral process. Or
They'll have to get parental approval regardless.
but can a parent just request for a CCA?
Yes,
Yes?
any parent can request for an assessment.
Okay.
That is correct. And if, and really, it's not, the onus isn't specifically on a school personnel or an officer to know, hey, this kid needs a CCA. That's not really what they're thinking, right? They're thinking, gosh, this kid probably needs some type of a, service in general is what they're thinking. And so then all they have to do is say, hey, I heard about this program. And once they refer on, then those details are worked out, right? Like then the professional knows, okay, we have to get the CCA, we have to get parental approval.
Right.
And then the school personnel and law enforcement, they've done their duty with referring to a program they think the kid will utilize. Ava, I don't know if you want to say.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Anyone can refer. So, and that's what you want, right? So you want these staff and personnel to recognize like, hey, something's not right here, and then intervene early on so that then we can capture what's happening and what the needs are.
I can see it with substance abuse, right? With vaping and all this sort of stuff. It seems like this aligns with the School Justice Partnership Program. We get it out of the court and push it towards programs and stuff like that as well. What you got?
I got a question. So for these CCAs that we're talking about, if I had a client in the teen court program that needs a higher level of care and I plan to terminate this client, can I, as another program, make the recommendation or request that a CCA happen for this client and reach out to that program and say, hey, this kid needs a higher level of care. What I offer can't cover it. Can you? Would that be the right choice? Because what I'm hearing, it sounds like yes, and I see everybody
Because
shaking
remember,
their head, yes.
yes, the
Awesome.
CCA is the gateway, just always
Awesome.
keep that in your minds, the gateway for any type of mental health or substance use service. That's step one.
Beautiful. Thank you for confirming that.
Anyone want to see it?
Yes,
It's
please.
quite a thing.
I would love to. Thank you.
And I think, of course, if they were DJJ involved, you would work with their court counselor.
Absolutely.
But if it was a referral directly from the school, then I
That's
think
what I'm-
reaching out to Ava and finding out what needs to
Yes.
happen.
Specifically, these direct referrals for these low-level offenses, and they come to us for truancy. And after I, interact with the family, I realize that there are more factors at play than just not going to school. This would be the perfect avenue. So yeah, thank y'all very much.
Right, any questions online? I see a lot of writings, which is good.
I think that is the closed captions.
Like someone's very active and I like it. Any other questions, any other comments? Thank you, Banta. It was a pleasure having that monitoring with you. Next, so we've just done Buncombe County Youth Justice Clinical Program, which are CCAs and group counseling. Anyone next? What you got?
Brandon and I had the opportunity to monitor Buncombe Structure Day
Okay.
last week, Tuesday. So I'll give a description from the program. So Buncombe Structure Day is a program that provides academic and behavioral support for at-risk middle and high school youth, as well as an alternative placement for short and long-term suspended youth and DJJ referrals. Programs focus will be based on an individualized service plan where each at-risk youth, which may include any of the following components: online academics, substance abuse awareness, alcohol awareness, social emotional learning, and character development. So before I get into the numbers, Brandon couldn't be here today, and he was the lead on it, and this was my first time doing this, so I certainly wanted to follow his lead and learn from the experience. Coming out of that meeting, it sounded like Brandon and I had slightly different perspectives on that, so I just want to name that on the front end. But in Brandon's form that I know has been submitted, I do not recommend this program for funding for the next year, and I'd love to share a little bit why. So first, I think the benefit to cost ratio is pretty weak. In the program agreement, the total cost of the program is $87,000, with an estimated number of youth served during the funding period to be 15, which breaks down to about $5,800 per student per year, which in my opinion is a pretty extraordinary amount of money in itself, not to mention that the length of service as stated in the program agreement is 60 days. To date, as Mr. Davis shared, the number of youth reported being served is 4, which translates to about $21,000 per student. But when pressed about the number of students that have consistently been there over the last reporting period, the number was 1. And when we were there on a Tuesday between 10 and 11:30, there were 0 students there. The second thing is I didn't see much evidence of impact, and this includes towards the measurable outcomes, including those that were listed in the program description. So a lot of the measurable outcomes had to do with following time in the program. What is the % likelihood of success, or no new issues of suspension. And we weren't able to observe any infrastructure to even be able to capture that data of knowing are the stated goals able to be even tracked. And then the last thing I would just offer is a key part of their program, as stated, is online academics, substance abuse awareness, alcohol awareness, of course, all incredibly useful things once that's identified as a support plan for a student. Without having any students there, it was hard to assess the effectiveness of those. And so we did our best to just ask some probing questions around what are the components of these programming that exist for students. And in many of these, it sounded as though that the program of the alcohol awareness, the substance abuse awareness, consisted of a single person that was coming in and talking with youth, which clearly would not meet the best practices for being able to do those, to meet those required services. Yeah, I'll pause there.
Questions, comments? So kind of really low numbers, low impact. I mean, once you get low numbers, you get low across the board on sort of everything, tracking any of that sort of stuff.
How old is the program? I mean, how long has it been?
It's been going, I believe, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think it's been funded for the past 3 or 4 years. They were funded for 1 year, then there was a gap where they weren't funded, and then I believe they've been funded for 4 years consecutive.
So has there been a trend, like a downhill trend of some kind? Do you have a sense of?
Yeah, that was reported to us that there has been a trend of fewer students coming, for sure. I will say it was hard to fully understand the length of time that any particular student is there. For sure, by design, some of it is, the student suspended for 10 days, but they don't hear about it. And so even, I would just offer that if in the program agreement, the length of services is 60 days.
Which is not possible at the child.
I think, I mean, it would for a longer term, like maybe
Expulsion at that
expulsion
point.
or something like that. But yes, they did report that fewer students, there have been fewer students over the last couple years.
And I can just kind of add for context to your question, Banta. In the past, you all for this past funding year, the JCPC voted to allocate additional funds to Buncombe Structure Day. Last year had been receiving about 30,000. That's a rough estimate. It was around 30. And in the past year, for 22-23, the previous year, they served 9 youth that completed the program and had estimated to serve 10. So this year, their funding was nearly doubled. And it doesn't seem like the number of referrals or the number of youth in the program has gone with that. You know, but that hasn't happened. They've only had 5 youth served so far year to date.
And the year ends the end of June.
And the year end is the end of June, yeah. And all of those have, I think Mr. Lance may be on. I'm not, Mr. Lance, is there anything you would like to add? I think all of the referrals had come from DJJ.
Yes, the program itself is the idea of is very, I understand it and it's necessary. Unfortunate that, you know, with some of our kids that we work with, especially some of the kids that we refer to those programs, other factors gets involved in terms of placement. Kids that would be appropriate for that program gets placed. Therefore, they lose that opportunity. In the past, when we had kids that were suspended from school, if we got the information early enough, we would be able to make those referrals and get them into the program. I think there was a couple of meetings with the school board at Asheville High, well, the Asheville School Board, to figure out a way how we can communicate with each other to send these kids to that program when they're suspended. Because most of the time, by the time we realize that they're suspended, it's too late to send a referral because they're back in school within a couple of days. Here recently with the alternative program that's at the Reed Center, a lot of those kids that would normally have been suspended from Asheville High or Asheville Middle are attending that program. So that kind of reduces that number at that time. The concept and idea is great. It's just that, you know, there's just that not that many kids that are available to refer them to. I do have a lot of kids some kids that are on virtual only, and trying to work with the county schools and try to get those kids into that program has been a struggle because they have their own system. That's where I'm at with this particular program.
So, hey, Mr. Lance, it's Angie. So question, with the alternative school, if a kid is suspended for 5 to 10 days and they are in the city schools, are they automatically referred to the alternative school and able to go there for that shortened period during their suspension?
It would be available. My hope is that if that's the decision for that kid. Now, I'm only speaking for juvenile justice kids. If I've been notified that my kid that I'm working with has been suspended for a duration of 5 to 10 days, a referral will be sent to Mr. Anderson program for where that kid can serve out that time there. But in speaking to Dr. Johnson, he's not a big proponent of suspensions. He's trying to figure out a way to keep those kids in school. So there's a few and far between in terms of kids being suspended in that alternative program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The other thing that I'll just add is that I do have the measurable objectives for the program from last year when they served the 9, and for the 9 youth that completed the program, there were 5 of them that met. 5 out of the 5 that were completed the program. There were 3 that did not participate, so those don't show up in the measurable objectives. So out of the 9, 5 participated, and all 5 that participated met 100% of the measurable objectives. But there were 4 that did not.
Does that mean that 4 were referred that didn't come?
It means they might have come or might
And
have
they just-
come briefly, but didn't stick with the program.
Thank you.
We double, obviously they have the van as well, which was part of the reason why we thought, or also Mr. Davis had put in as kind of that proposal of the numbers increasing, right? That he could reach out a little bit more. I think all of us kind of hear the writing on the wall, right? It's the schools are handling it a little bit better with reducing in-school, out-of-school suspensions. There are also other entities that are in this field as well. So it's a sort of crowded market. And it's got to come from the schools. I mean, getting it from DJJ with Lance, thank you, Lance, for being able to offer those, but those come way too late. And so we, at some point, if we are going to listen to recommendations, Andy, and I think Brandon had offered his recommendation as well, which was perhaps yes, but with some constrictions as well. If we do move forward with that, we'll make that decision as board. We'll need to ensure that Mr. Davis has what he needs to succeed. You know, we can help with MOUs with Buncombe County and try to get him on the forefront. Otherwise, he will be, if they're looking at referrals and there's alternative school and there's other these things, and he's down on the list, he won't be getting the types of numbers that his program needs. And it sounds like from Mr. Lance, the program is potentially good. It just doesn't have enough numbers to be effective. So we'll entertain that. Thank you for that monitoring. Any other questions, comments?
I mean, just echoing what you said, that's 2 straight programs that are being underutilized, and for various reasons. And I think the board, we need to decide what our role is in that, because as what's being brought up, like, we do have some fiscal responsibility there that we have to watch. And if our programs aren't being used, are there barriers that we can help take down, or what does that mean for us in our involvement?
Don't see any hands raised, nothing online.
Oh, George, this is Mary. I was just gonna chime in real quick. I know Mr. Lance was talking about the alternatives that Asheville City has, but I would just say, like, also in working with Buncombe County schools, I mean, they have BCATs when kids are suspended. They've also started the Eagle Academy for the middle school kids. And then every juvenile that I've had from Buncombe County that's been long-term suspended, they're offering them to do school through a virtual platform. So they also have, several options in place that, I do think take some of those referrals that would have gone to Partners Unlimited in the past. But, Buncombe County does have several things in place for those kids that are suspended.
Thank you, Mary. All right, so the next, I'll go ahead and jump in. So I'm not speaking back to back on some of these. I want to say that I had the pleasure of being able to go to Pivot Point. Fell in love with it off gate. Being from here, being raised here, knowing the mountains are in the background. I understand what this is, how important this is, especially with kids are very electronic, very indoors now. Getting them out and about is extremely important. What I did like to hear is that we talked about the word therapy, right? And how that triggers an immediate response. So it's coaching. right? And it's using peer-delivered experience coaching while they're doing these types of activities. Great program. You served 12 at this point. They are current on track. Problem that they have obviously is that you have winter, you have some cold weather, and then, you know, trying to pivot from that as well. But I have no problem that they will get the numbers that they're agreed to meet. The majority of their referrals come from court counselors. Again, we would love to be able to see that push into the schools as well. On track financially, they did have a refund of, I believe it's $163. I think that had to deal with equipment at that point, but very minor. The only thing I would stress, and obviously we've heard from it, is not talk to them about this, especially being a Black kid here in Asheville, is the diversity, right? The majority of people that are using this program are white males, right? And I know it'd be wonderful to be able to get them out of their environment and into that. And so I think a lot of this stuff kind of comes from the DJJ court counselors. And I know that sometimes we may see, and as we know, we've got the red data, we see a lot of Black and brown individuals coming through court counselors. And I know that may not be what they initially look like or may want to do, but throwing a referral in to see if that can break the mold, I think is going to be needed, especially if they're getting a lot of referrals from DJJ, is to kind of diversify that clientele that's being used. And we also spoke about the girls as well, and how we were talking about how it could not happen having both out there at the same time, but definitely we need to have a track for the girls as well, and be able to utilize that. But everything worked great for me. It was a pleasure. This was one that Don sat on with me. We had a joy being able to talk about the effectiveness of this program and what it does. It's expanding as well, increasing. So nothing but good things to say for them. I obviously recommend that we continue with the funding that we have for next year for them. I also asked if I could put my daughter in there. I just wanted to. I know that some of these programs are so good. I'm like, can I use them for my own kid? But yes, kayaking, hiking, all this sort of stuff that kids would love if they got out there. It's always that hurdle of getting them out there. It is, and they'll give pushback initially, but God, you're on a hike for 2 hours. Maybe that 15 minutes of pushback will turn into enjoyment later on and self-reflection. And we talked about them hiking up and then using their camera to capture photos of where they've finished at the top and throughout, and using that later on as motivation and inspiration, looking at that and showing where you were at and where you got there. So a lot of great stuff.
And we indirectly do that therapy piece. We use metaphor and clinical. Most of our staff has a clinical, even though we're not therapy. We definitely come in the back door, I think, of addressing issues. So thank you for your glowing report.
I have a question. Is you at capacity?
No, actually, we're not. We can take at one cohort or a group a max of 10. It's a 10-week program. And as the numbers come in, we just grow. So we love, one of the things that we talked with George is like, especially having female identified staff, we're dying to get a female group. So we could have, and we're even looking to see, is there a way that we can do, like our leadership program with AC Reynolds is on Wednesday afternoon, where we take these kids out, 4 to 6 hours on Saturday because of the time of year, and it's an after school. We really have them out in the woods, like on the land, probably for 2.5, 3 hours. And obviously summer's gonna change that. So we're looking and open to like, can we do this like a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Or how can we look at more groups and more school? AC Reynolds is our pilot program, but we obviously want to expand that into other schools. So open to just running simultaneous. We'll hire the staff, we'll buy the van,
Thank you. They provide equipment, socks, shoes, boots. I mean, you name it. The kid comes out there not ready, they will be ready by the time they get out there.
People have donated stuff, so even if, in our communities, not everybody has hiking shoes, so we can provide that if needed. We've gone to Walmart before because the kids weren't dressed appropriately. And we take them out in all weather, so it's, there's a a great way of learning about, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, and how they weather that storm, no pun intended. Is very helpful and illuminating.
I have a question.
Sure.
So,
I just want to note time, y'all.
Yes, so noting that it's 3 minutes till 10,
We still have 3 program
we still have 3
monitoring
programs
reports.
as well.
I know that Mr. Lance is on to report on Earn and Learn, and I'm not sure if he needs to jump off right at 10.
Yeah, I need to get off. Yes, I do.
Mr. Lance, would you like to give a very?
Thank you, Hannah, for
Thanks,
emergency.
Hannah.
Thank you for thinking about me. I can go ahead and get if you guys don't mind, I can go ahead and get started with mine.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I did do Earn and Learn. Very familiar with this particular program. I've been doing this for 15 years and been working with them for 15 years. This is provide community service restitution program for Buckley County. This program works with youth assigned community service hours and/or monetary compensation requirements for victims provided through juvenile justice. Through supervised assigned work, evidence-based journals, juveniles provide important service to the community and are held accountable for their actions and given the opportunity to acknowledge their harm they may have caused. In terms of this program agreement of the 65 kids that's on the program agreement, as of to date, they're at 34 in the first 6 months, and they're on track to meeting their goals. In terms of their measurable objectives, it's yes, this program has met the measurable objectives last year and have raised their outcome percentage and are on track for those results. There are no significant items to review. Program is on track financially. And there were no refunds from last year. The strength of this program is that they provide an opportunity for the juveniles to complete their community service and also pay back restitution. They provide stability with very little turnover. And Juan is very good at high communication. By communicating with us, he shows up to our JJTC staffings and provide reports and have dialogue with us about any concerns about any of our juveniles. And also they provide transportation to pick up juveniles from school and or at home to work sites. Try to identify some weaknesses. I know sometimes when we have multiple kids that are in conflict with each other or court order not to be associated with each other, there is that struggle to try to figure out how we can provide those types of community service equally for those kids. So that kind of prolongs the opportunity for those kids to get their community service hours done. So there's been a balancing act trying to get that done. We do recommend that this program be funded for next year. And that's where we're at.
Thank you, Mr. Lance.
I have the written monitoring report for teen court, but I recognize that both Brandon Feaster and Don Johnson, were those the two who monitored? Yeah, both of them had conflicts. Do you want me to read through the written one or do you?
Sure, you go ahead.
So for teen court with Buncombe Alternatives, Brandon Feaster and Don Johnson monitored. It looks like things are on track. The things are on track, looks like fiscally, client tracking, all their paperwork was in order. They're on track with the number served for the program agreement projections with 34 youth admitted year to date. It looks like they're on track for measurable objectives and their evidence supported practice involves interactive journaling. Do not currently have a spec, we do have a PEP. Things are in line with what they've laid out in the program agreement. They have not had staff vacancies or significant programming changes since the beginning of the year. And last year they did have a refund of $590. And let's see, overall program strengths, weaknesses, or other summary comments. They included strengths were infrastructure and staff. And they do recommend the program for funding without conditions, and don't recommend area consultant follow-up as needed at this point in time. I apologize for not having a more robust picture of it, but things look on track.
Well, it's good that we have them there presenting beforehand, so we kind of understand it anyway. This is kind of a run through of hitting those big highlights. I know I also did Aspire Youth, so we can go ahead and go through that as well. Aspire Youth, the connection, this is one that does vocational skill building. So you've got the kitchen component, they also have the music component. Both of them, I believe, kind of work out of UNCA, which is wonderful. Great program. Total serves for this program is 15. They're at 10 at this point. I feel like they're on track. Admitted year to date is 7. They do have individual service plan, class notes, monthly updates, all that kind of stuff. They do have a spec as well. The big thing about this kind of program, I think we kind of mentioned before, Robin, is they're having an issue with the music component. Creative U, who they're contracting out, has been dropping the ball, right? And so that affects the responses, it affects the kids, obviously it affects everything. And so she kind of mentioned it before, them finding a suitable replacement or addition of Creative U can do half instead of more, but having more options to be able to utilize that portion of it. What I loved best about the portion that dealt with the kitchen is that at the end of it, they had a safe serve exam or something like that, certificate, which we all know would be useful in a place like this here in Western North Carolina with all the restaurants, right? They'd be able to work in there and do that kind of stuff. So this was one that Don and I went to on track financially, didn't have any sort of refunds as well. And so we recommend funding for this program as well. We will try to meet with them about figuring out that contract issue that they need to do to secure up the music portion, but on all intents and purposes, it was a good monitoring meeting with Robin. All right, so I'm sorry that we've kind of gotten a little bit past time. It's 10:05. We still have the allocations committee, which kind of just talks about, I'll let Angel kind of run down through that, and then the planning committee, but I do want to apologize. We get caught up when we speak to programs and get kind of lose track of time. My timekeeper beside me to my left has failed to tap on my shoulder when we need to, and so Hannah definitely has saved us.
Sergeant Loveland has left.
But obviously we've got people, I know time is precious. People got to go to different things. If you need to go, that's perfectly fine. We still got to run through the remainder of this. It should not take that much as we go through the allocations and planning. Those are just notations, and then we'll get updates and be done. Angel, take it away with allocations.
All right, pretty simple with the allocations. So the applications for the remaining like 70,000, Lorraine, correct? They're due by Monday, March 5th. And then we're gonna have the hearing for the programs that apply on Wednesday, March 13th. And depending on how many apply will be if it's 9 a.m. to 10 or 9 a.m. to 5.
And I know that for, Lorraine, you have some guidance for the programs funded for the second year. I think if their programs are funded, if they're reapplying for funds or new programs applying for funds, they still need to print off copies and turn those in. But do you have advice for second year funding?
Yeah, anyone applying for the RFP, new programs, or same with for Ava for your program, to reapply for year 2 for the Buncombe for Youth Justice Clinical Program, you all will need to do the 18 copies and follow the RFP directions as indicated by Buncombe Buncombe's JCPC, for programs who are funded for 2 years already. You still need to put your program application into NC Allies, but you do not need to print off all the hard copies and submit those. But you will need your uploads, everything signed, all of those. I'll do, for sake of time, I'll send an email out to all the programs with that information, so y'all won't have to do that. And then the other piece about allocations, I think you had, Angel, you had, I think, including yourself, 5 people that had committed to attending, and I think the minimum for Buncombe that y'all have in your policies is 10. For the allocations day, so.
I can attend on the
Need some
13th.
additional.
Thank you, Beth.
So, they wanna.
Yes, we will send out emails for volunteering experience from the board, voluntold experience. I will go ahead and nominate myself as well as we get to that number where we need to have. But be on the lookout for an email to see, we gotta make sure we have people at this allocations hearing to be able to move that money from that 1 year that was left over from the County Youth Justice Clinical Program and get funding for that program or any other programs that are applying for that year. Planning Committee, Angie?
Well, just real quick, we had, I know some of you were able to attend, Crystal Wynn Lewis from the state. She presented the racial equity data. We had significant technical problems on both ends. So with that being said, I'm not gonna go through all the numbers. We don't have time. We will be taking a much deeper dive in the planning committee now that we have these numbers and planning for the next fiscal year, once the 2-year plan, this process is over and we are back to allocating the full amount. So we have some really good numbers here, and I will say that the numbers for Black youth and white youth is what we are hearing and seeing. It's now showing in the numbers, basically meaning that there are a higher number of, Black youth versus white youth who are referred to DJJ from the school and in general compared to our population. So I'll give you a quick number, then we don't have the time, but in Buncombe County, there are around 32,367 youth. 24,256 of those are white youth. 2,972 of those are Black youth, okay? And so you have 75% white, 13% Black in the county, and actually this is statewide as well, that was noted on there, that Black youth are 5 times more likely to receive a complaint, okay? So that's a pretty big disparity right there. I'll just leave it at that. There's a lot to delve into. And then moving on to the youth resource guide, the service continuum day. There's just been a lot of work on that.
Yeah, it's now with our communications team, and they're working on it as fast as they can, given that half the department was hit with COVID in the past few weeks. So probably, I'm hoping that I'll have it available to share by March 1st when the School Justice Partnership meets. And then I know that
there's been lots, just to let everyone know how that has been working, is Hannah has set up multiple meetings with different community partners to go through all of that. So it hasn't just been the county working on that. There's been reach out to multiple stakeholders, and they've done a lot of work in trying to ensure that that's up to date. Remember, it's always going to be a fluid document, but it's a great start.
Thank you, Angie. Is Sylvia on? Or is Mary?
I'm still here.
Mary, I don't know if Sylvia is on it, or would you give an update as to DJJ?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. Reporting for Sylvia. So our complaints are continuing to trickle in. We just had 3 new staff that completed basic training. They just returned to the office this week. We've got 1 staff going to training. He'll leave on February 24th. We've got a couple applicants in the pipeline, so hoping to be hearing something about them soon. And we're just glad that we are working towards normalcy for D28.
Thank you, Mary. That's short and sweet. Lorraine.
I won't go into all of my report. I'll email out, as I said, for most things. The one thing I did want to mention for the meeting today is that the intensive intervention services RFP has been published. That is for higher level youth with higher level needs, so level 2 or above, or it's a not mental health level 2, but DJJ level 2 and higher. So those are combined funds they're basically funds to keep youth in the community. They're alternatives to detention and to youth development center placements. Keep them here, and it's youth with higher risk scores and higher needs. The same program types that you see in the RFP for overall for JCPC funded programs, those same program types are the types of programming that's available in the RFP. You'd want to go with something, of course, that is needed in your community. Those are competitive funds statewide. They're separate from the JCPC funds. They come through community programs. Task is one program that y'all have had over the years that is now on a statewide contract, but they serve that level youth in the community. I don't believe there are any other Buncombe funded programs that receive those funds currently. Task was the last one that had those. And so those are available, and the RFP deadline is February 29th. So if there are nonprofits or organizations that are interested in applying those funds to meet those higher level needs, please look at that RFP, and I'll make sure. I don't know if you've received it. I haven't seen it go out, so I'll send it to you, Hannah. Make sure you've got that to forward to everyone. So please get that out in the community. And it's it would be for 1 year for this set of funds.
Thank you, Lorraine. Any other public comments, announcements?
Yes, I'll just jump in and say I'm really, really happy with the work the team's doing. Push a lot of people to ask for a lot of these programs to have direct referrals from the school. That's a really big deal. Just really glad to hear that.
I'm glad you said that real quick. What I meant to say real quick, we need to go ahead and set program presentations for school social workers, and then separately for SROs for city and county. We just set those up with Henderson JCPC, and those are going to be happening next week. The schools wanted to separate, which makes sense for their social workers, and then we'll do another where it's virtual, so it makes it easier. But yes, so I think we need to move forward on doing that here. And so we can talk about that, get some dates, reach out to who's over the SROs for the city and county and then schools. And I'd like to combine, if we could, we'll see what Shannon and Kim Robinson think of just combining the city and county school social workers into one meeting.
I think depending on size and space, they might be open to doing it with the SROs from brief conversations I've had. I know that the SRO supervisor for Buncombe County was saying in person would be better for their people,
We'll do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, great. But we can offer hybrid too.
Okay. And if the programs wanted to do virtual, because I know it's a little more challenging for them, but for us to be in person and go to them is totally fine. So,
I was gonna say, we've kind of started that process a little bit already and have with Dr. Cassano on Monday, their team about like getting into the schools and doing our presentations. So any way that we can support anybody teaching out, we'll gladly do that.
All right, that's a good point to end on. Program presentations towards schools and SROs, which piggybacks the idea we need referrals to come directly from them as opposed to DJJ. What we're aligned with, the School Justice Partnership. Thank you all for being here virtually, everyone who attended in person. Is there a motion to
I
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
I second. Please make sure to sign in on the sign-in sheet if you haven't yet, Mo. And this Mo also has parking validation sheet.
I'm sorry, I put it over.
No, that's, I mean, we had a lot.
That's what I was like, I was thinking. Program.